People think banks are secure. Vault doors, silent alarms, cameras, guards. But I've worked in one long enough to know better. Security is a show. It's meant to make you feel safe. But underneath the suits and systems, it's all just routine. And routines can be exploited. I've been a teller at Stonehill Community Bank for almost 7 years. It's a small branch tucked between a hardware store and a pharmacy, in a town where everyone knows everyone, or at least thinks they do. People here still write checks at the grocery store, still say, "God bless you," even if they don't mean it, and still assume that someone like me could never do anything dangerous. I'm the one who smiles too much, the one who never forgets birthdays, the one who stays late to balance drawers and bring coffee to the night guards. But behind that, I was watching. I was always watching. I knew who set the alarms and when. I knew which cameras had blind spots. I knew that the Tuesday delivery from Loomis was the biggest. New bills, bundled tight, over $200,000 just sitting in the vault overnight until the manager could lock them in the next morning. And I knew I could never afford the kind of life that money could buy, at least not the honest way. It started as a joke, a drunk night with friends. "Come on, Alyssa," one of them laughed. "You're sitting in a gold mine. Just crack the door open one night and let us handle the rest." We all laughed. I laughed too. But then I thought about my apartment, the peeling paint, the eviction notice on my neighbor's door that could be mine next month, the calls I stopped answering, the dreams I shelved years ago, and I wondered, what if? That night, I made a list, not of reasons not to do it, but of how it could work. I met Marcus in college. He was reckless, brilliant, and exactly the kind of person I'd been warned about. We hadn't spoken in years, not until I reached out. He didn't hesitate. "Let me guess," he said over coffee, grinning like he already knew. "You're ready to do something real." I was nervous, but I didn't deny it. He brought in 2 others. Jay, quiet and methodical, with a record that made me sweat, and Sherry, sharp-tongued, fearless, and fast. I didn't trust them, but trust wasn't part of this. They weren't friends, they were tools. And I had the key. I told them everything, the schedules, the guards, the safe codes. I drew the layout from memory, marked the back exit, pointed out which ATM cameras were fake and which ones hadn't worked in months. Marcus asked me once, "Are you sure you're not already a criminal?" I didn't answer. We planned for 6 weeks. Every night, after work, I'd go home, open my laptop, and revise the plan. I had a burner phone. I used encrypted apps. I wore gloves when I wrote on paper and burned the notes after. We picked a date, a Thursday. The guard rotation would be light. The manager would be out of town at a conference. I'd be alone on closing shift. "Are you really going to open the vault for us?" Jay asked. "No," I said. "I'm just going to forget to lock it." The plan was simple. I'd delay setting the alarm by exactly 15 minutes. That was our window. Marcus and Jay would slip in through the service entrance I'd leave unlocked. Sherry would stay in the car, engine running. The money was already bundled, already counted. They'd grab it, bag it, and be gone before anyone even noticed the glitch. And me? I'd lock up, go home, and report the break-in the next morning. An inside job. Investigation would be inevitable. But I'd play dumb, act scared, cry in the interview, say I must have made a mistake with the alarm, and they'd believe me. They always did. The night before, I barely slept. I walked the apartment 3 times, unplugging everything, making sure the stove was off, the windows locked. I checked my phone for updates. None came. Just the final word from Marcus. Tomorrow, we don't exist. When I walked into the bank that day, everything looked the same. That was the strange part. People smiled, said good morning, asked about weekend plans. I smiled back, lied about a fake trip I wasn't taking, told my coworker I'd cover her lunch the next day, wished a regular customer happy birthday. And all the while, my hands were shaking beneath the counter. At 4:52 p.m., I pressed the vault lock, then accidentally hit cancel, left it ajar. At 5:03, I flipped the alarm system to standby, but didn't press confirm. At 5:06, I locked the front door and turned the sign to closed. At 5:09, I walked to the staff restroom, counted to 120, and returned. At 5:11, I heard the back door creak. They were in. No turning back now. They say adrenaline makes you sharper. That time slows down. Your senses heighten. But that night, everything felt too fast. My breath, my thoughts, the clock. At 5:12 p.m., I saw Marcus's shadow move past the break room window. The door I left unlocked creaked once, just like it always did when it stuck a little in humid weather. I didn't flinch. I couldn't. I walked to the front counter, adjusted the blinds, and sat down at my terminal, like I was closing out for the day. Routine, routine, routine. If anyone asked, I'd been alone, finishing late, trying to balance the draw. Normal. But in the back room, 2 men were crossing into a federal crime. Marcus and Jay were in. I'd gone over it 100 times. Exactly 15 minutes, 11 to 26 past 5. Sherry would be in the car, counting every second. I could already hear the engine humming faintly in the alley behind the bank. At 5:14, I heard the vault open. I had left the keypad in test mode, which meant it wouldn't log entries for another 15 minutes. Just enough time to make it seem like the breach happened after I left. I took a sip of water to calm my hands. Everything was going according to plan, until it wasn't. At 5:18, Jay's voice came through the hallway, sharper than it should have been. "That bag's short," he hissed. I froze. "Please don't start yelling." Marcus's voice followed, lower but urgent. "What are you talking about? That was all of it." Number Alyssa said, over 200K. "This isn't even close." I stood up, slowly, walked toward the hallway, just enough to hear. "I counted it myself," I whispered. "It's all there." Jay looked up, his gloves already smudged with ink. "Are you sure?" I met his eyes. "Do you want to argue, or do you want to get out alive?" He didn't respond. Marcus grabbed the bag, zipped it, and nodded. Clock's ticking. At 5:22, I walked back to the lobby, flipped the alarm switch, and finally hit on. 15 minutes exactly. I wiped down every surface I'd touched. The vault keypad, the drawer handle, even the edge of the break room table. My gloves had stayed on the entire time, but I wasn't taking chances. At 5:25, I turned off the lights. At 5:26, I opened the front door and stepped into the fading light of evening like nothing had happened. Across the street, the pizza place was bustling. A group of teens laughed at something on a phone. Somewhere in town, a dog barked. The world still turned. I walked 2 blocks to where I'd parked my car, away from the cameras. I didn't look back. That night, we met at a motel outside of town. Marcus had booked it under a fake name, cash only. He paced when he was nervous, and he was pacing now. Jay dropped the bag onto the bed. Count it again. Sherry rolled her eyes. Seriously? I want to be sure, Jay snapped. I let them argue. I went into the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. I looked the same, too much the same, like someone who couldn't possibly have helped rob a federal institution. I should have felt powerful. I should have felt free. But all I felt was unsettled. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the risk. It was Jay. I didn't trust him before, and now I trusted him less. The next morning, I walked into the bank at 8:03 a.m. I called 911 at 8:07. I cried by 8:09. By 8:15, the police had sealed off the building. The investigation began, and I played my part perfectly. Shocked, confused, grieving the loss of trust and security. Detectives came. Cameras were reviewed. Interviews conducted. I told them what I rehearsed. I must have forgotten to fully lock the vault. I was exhausted. It's all my fault. But no one blamed me. Not yet. 3 days passed. We laid low, didn't contact each other, didn't touch the money. Not yet. Then on the 4th night, Sherry called me. Jay's getting twitchy, she said, talking about insurance. Like, if one of us flips, he'll take the others down too. My stomach turned. This wasn't the plan. No plan survives impact, she said coldly. And just like that, the thing we built, this precise, careful structure, started to crack. Not because of the cops, not because of a camera, because people are messier than plans. And I had just risked everything with people I barely knew. The thing about secrets is, they rot in silence. You bury them deep, thinking they'll stay still, stay quiet. But secrets don't die underground. They fester, they wait, and then they come clawing up through the surface when you least expect it. On the 5th day after the heist, the FBI showed up. 2 men in sharp suits walked into the branch just before lunch. Not the local cops. This was federal now. They flashed badges, smiled too politely. Just a routine follow-up, one of them said. I nodded, smiled back, offered coffee, shook hands. Inside, my pulse was pounding so loud, I could barely hear them. They asked to speak to each employee, one at a time. We are just reviewing your statements from the day of the break-in, they said. Standard procedure. I was the last to go. In the interview room, they were kind. Too kind. Miss Dalton, the taller one said, you've been with this branch how long? 7 years, I answered. He smiled. Impressive. We've gone through footage, the other added, and there's a small window of time, about 15 minutes, where the alarm wasn't fully engaged. I kept my expression neutral. That was my mistake. I hit standby instead of confirm. I was distracted. He tilted his head. Did something distract you? I hesitated, just for a moment. Honestly, I was exhausted. I'd worked a double shift earlier that week. The first man scribbled something. The second leaned back, folding his arms. And yet, everything else you did was according to protocol. Clean, by the book. I met his eyes. I take pride in my work. He nodded slowly. They didn't accuse me. They didn't even hint. But I left that room, knowing they didn't buy a word of it. Later that night, I got a message from Marcus. Need to talk. In person, tomorrow. It wasn't like him to be vague or nervous. We met at a gas station off Highway 11, the kind that looks abandoned at night. He was already there pacing. Jay was with him. Sherry wasn't. She's gone, Marcus said. What do you mean? She left, took a cut and disappeared. I froze. That wasn't part of the plan. Marcus shook his head. She thinks one of us is going to crack. She doesn't want to be here when it happens. Jay stayed silent, arms crossed, watching me too closely. I didn't say anything, I said quickly. No one's accusing you, Marcus said. But the pressure's getting heavier, and if the feds start digging deeper. He didn't finish the sentence. Jay spoke finally. If anyone talks, we all go down. I looked between them. The fear was in their eyes now. Then don't give them a reason to dig, I said. Lay low, keep quiet, act normal. Jay didn't blink. That only works if we trust each other. For the first time, I realized he didn't. The next morning, I found an envelope on my doorstep. No name, no return address. Inside, a single photo. It was me, standing at the staff entrance of the bank, 15 minutes after closing, glancing over my shoulder. A still frame, blurry, but unmistakably me. No note, no explanation, just the image. I dropped it. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Someone had taken it. Someone had held onto it. And now they wanted me to know they had it. I didn't go to work that day. I called in sick, sat on the floor of my apartment, and stared at that photo for hours. Was it Jay? Trying to rattle me? Was it the feds? A silent threat? Or was it Sherry? Had she come back? I didn't know what terrified me more, being watched or being alone in this mess. That night, Marcus called again. Someone's playing games, he said. You got a photo too? Number worse. My place was searched. By police? No warrant, no badge, just tossed like someone was looking for something. He paused. I think someone's trying to burn us down. One by one. I gripped the phone tighter. Then we need to stick together. We should have never trusted Jay, he muttered. I didn't respond because deep down I agreed. But the truth was, I didn't trust Marcus either. Not anymore. On day 10, I returned to work, smiled, filed papers, answered emails. But every time a customer stepped too close, every time the phone rang, I jumped. The world felt tilted, too bright, too loud. And then the manager pulled me into her office. FBI wants to talk to you again, she said gently. I nodded, tried not to let my face crack. They're saying it's just a follow-up. But I knew nothing was routine anymore. That evening, I made a decision. If I was going down, I wasn't going alone. I dug out the burner phone, deleted every app, smashed it with a hammer, tossed the pieces in different trash bins across town. Then I packed a bag. Not to run, not yet, but to be ready, because the walls were closing in, and I had 15 minutes of silence left before someone knocked on my door. I hadn't slept in 2 nights. Every sound outside made me flinch. The creak of pipes, the hum of the fridge, the occasional car passing by. My mind translated them all into footsteps, knocks, someone watching me from the shadows. The photo hadn't left my desk. I kept staring at it, like it would change, like it would blink and explain itself. But it didn't. It just stayed there, still, threatening. By the 12th day, the pressure had carved something deep into me. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was calculating. That's when Marcus called. Jay's gone. My mouth went dry. What do you mean gone? Vanished. His apartment's empty. Landlord said he skipped out in the middle of the night. That doesn't make sense, he said. He said a lot of things. There was a silence between us, long and heavy. Then Marcus said, "Meet me. One last time. Tonight." We met in a diner off the interstate. It was almost empty. Just a waitress and some guy nodding off in a booth. Marcus looked thinner. His eyes were ringed with dark circles. His coffee sat untouched. "I think he's going to turn himself in," he said. "No way." He's scared. He thinks if he talks first, he can cut a deal. I shook my head. They won't let him off. He doesn't need off, just less. I leaned forward. Do you think they'll believe you had nothing to do with it if Jay confesses? Marcus looked at me, cold. I didn't say I wouldn't go down. I'm saying I don't want to go down alone. The words hung there. I realized then we weren't allies anymore. We were falling dominoes, hoping to crash last. I left without finishing my coffee. That night, I didn't go home. I drove, nowhere in particular, just kept moving. Gas station to gas station, back roads, empty lots. At 3:17 a.m., I parked behind a warehouse and cried for the first time in years. Not from guilt, from exhaustion. I was out of options. If Jay turned, we were done. If Marcus panicked, we were done. If Sherry returned, we were done. Too many cracks. I couldn't patch them all. On day 13, I received a call from a blocked number, a man's voice, calm. You're Alyssa Dalton? Yes. We'd like you to come in for clarification. My chest tightened. Clarification on what? We've connected some additional details to the Stonehill case. You're not in trouble, but this is your opportunity to help yourself. Help myself. They knew, maybe not everything, but enough. I didn't go in right away. I drove around for hours, thought about every move I'd made, every moment I could have covered better, every word I couldn't take back. By noon, I sat in front of the station, car off, hands on the steering wheel. I could walk in, confess, spin the story, control the narrative. Or I could wait, call Marcus, find Sherry. But then what? Keep running, keep hoping one of them wouldn't sell me out. I closed my eyes and I saw Jay, not as he was during the heist, but before. The version of him I didn't know. The one who could have been wearing a wire, the one who might already have immunity. I got out of the car. The room was small, no windows, just 2 chairs and a table. They didn't yell, didn't accuse. They asked questions. Neutral, measured. I gave half-truths, pauses, vague suggestions. They nodded, jotted down notes. I watched their eyes. They weren't surprised. They were just waiting. And then came the moment. Miss Dalton, one of them said, we have reason to believe your associate, Jay Montel, has already entered a preliminary agreement with federal prosecutors. The room felt colder. He's admitted involvement, named individuals, shared details that only someone on the inside could have known. I didn't speak. I didn't move. Now, we're offering you one chance to cooperate. I looked down at the table. There were no photos, no threats, just quiet, and a pen. I signed. I told them everything, not out of remorse, not out of fear, out of strategy. I named Marcus, explained the layout, detailed the money drop, the escape plan, the burner phones. I didn't mention Sherry. She had disappeared, and in some dark part of me, I admired that. The trial didn't make headlines. It was buried beneath bigger scandals. Jay received a reduced sentence, 5 years. Marcus got 17. I received 12. I served 9. Now I work in a hardware store, 3 counties over. No one knows me. I don't talk about it. Sometimes I still feel the urge to check behind me, to count how many footsteps follow, but mostly I just wait. For nothing in particular, just wait. Because when you live with the lie long enough, you start to feel hollow without it. Like silence is just a crime you haven't confessed yet.